Have you ever felt something off when the moonlight shines down, cold and silent, as if it's whispering secrets you never want to hear? I am Mr. Nightwraith, a horror writer living in New York, and I've spent my life hunting for stories that make your heart pound, that make you look over your shoulder in the dark. But this time, I'm not just telling a story. I will share with you a secret, an experience that I myself survived, but it still haunts me every night. Do you dare to listen further? What would happen if the thing you thought was just a story turned out to be real? I live in a small apartment in Brooklyn where the old cobblestone streets and the dim yellow streetlights create an atmosphere like something out of Poe's pages. My job is to write horror stories, but I don't just imagine them. I seek them out, true stories, whispers of strange things happening in the dark. Last July, I received a strange email from someone calling themselves The Observer. No name, no information, just a short line. If you want a truly terrifying story, come to the Blackwood Forest in upstate New York, the night of the full moon. Don't bring anyone. The first question that flashed in my mind was, is this a prank or a real invitation? But curiosity, the thing that has guided me through countless horror stories, won out. Blackwood wasn't far, just a few hours' drive from the city. I did a quick search online, and as expected, this forest had a strange history. Unexplained disappearances, folk tales about faceless shadows, and eerie sounds echoing in the night. The locals called it Devil's Forest. Perfect, I thought. This is the material for my next book. I prepared a backpack with a flashlight, a voice recorder, a folding knife, and a notebook. As I drove out of the city, the neon lights of New York gradually gave way to dark, winding roads through the hills. That night was a full moon, and the silver moonlight illuminated the road, casting long tree shadows like hands reaching out. I turned on the radio to dispel the silence, but there was only static. Strange, I thought, but didn't pay much attention. When I reached the edge of Blackwood Forest, the clock showed nearly midnight. The air was freezing, despite it being midsummer. I parked the car by a dirt road and stepped out, flashlight in hand. The smell of damp earth and rotting leaves hit my nose, mixed with another scent, a metallic smell, like dried blood. I shook my head, telling myself it was just the imagination of a horror writer. But then, as I stepped into the forest, I heard it. A whisper, unclear, as if someone was talking far away, but not close enough for me to make out the words. Just keep going, I told myself, trying to stay calm. The moonlight filtered through the trees, creating strange patterns of light and shadow on the ground. I went deeper, noting everything in my notebook, the sudden silence of the insects, the feeling of being watched from afar, and the shadow that flashed at the corner of my eye. I stopped, sweeping the flashlight around, but saw nothing but gaunt tree trunks. Then I found it, a clearing in the forest, where the moonlight illuminated a perfect circle. In the center was a large flat stone, carved with strange symbols I couldn't read. They looked like ancient runes, but distorted, as if someone had deliberately corrupted them. I felt a chill run down my spine, not from the cold, but from a feeling of wrongness, as if I were standing in a place that didn't belong to me. I took out the voice recorder, intending to capture some thoughts, but when I turned it on, a strange sound came through. Not my voice, but a long hiss, like wind passing through a cave. I checked the device, but it was working fine. My heart started beating faster. "Who's there?" I called out loudly, my voice echoing in the silent space. No response, but the whispering came again, this time closer, clearer. It wasn't human. It was like something trying to mimic a human. I turned around, the flashlight beam swinging wildly. And then I saw it, a figure, tall and lanky, standing right at the edge of the clearing. It had no face, just a pitch-black void where eyes and a mouth should have been. I froze, unable to move, as if my body was locked in place. The figure didn't move, but I felt it watching me, as if it were digging into my mind, searching for something. "You don't belong here," a voice rang out, not from the figure, but from inside my head. The voice was cold, like marble, and each word felt like a knife stabbing into my chest. I stepped back, tripped over a root, and fell to the ground. The flashlight rolled away, its light flickering. I scrambled to retrieve it, but when I looked up, the figure was gone. Instead, I heard footsteps, not one, but dozens, as if the entire forest was coming alive. I jumped up, running toward the car, my heart pounding. The footsteps followed, faster, closer. I felt a cold breath on the back of my neck, though I didn't know where it came from. When I burst out of the forest and jumped into the car, I locked the doors, started the engine, and sped away. In the rearview mirror, I swear I saw dozens of figures standing at the forest's edge, motionless, watching me. When I got back to my apartment in Brooklyn, I checked the voice recorder. Besides the initial hiss, there was another sound I didn't remember recording. A voice, not mine, repeating over and over, "You have seen, you will return." I deleted the recording, burned the notebook, and tried to forget. But every night, when the moonlight shines through my window, I feel those eyes again. The eyes of something without a face still waiting for me. That's my story, but it's not over. Sometimes I still hear the whispers in my head and I wonder, did that thing really let me go? Or is it still waiting, somewhere in Blackwood Forest, under the moonlight? Have you ever experienced something like this? A moment that made you feel unsafe, even in your own home? Share your story in the comments. I want to hear. And if you're brave enough, watch my next video, where I'll tell you about an abandoned house in the New York suburbs, where the walls seem to speak. Don't forget to hit the follow button so you don't miss out. Who knows? Maybe your story will be the inspiration for my next one. Have you ever wondered, are your dreams really just a product of your imagination? Or are they a door leading to a place you should never step into? I am Mr. Nightwraith, a horror writer living in the heart of New York, where neon lights never go out, but darkness still creeps into every corner of the street. I have written hundreds of macabre stories, but no story has made me tremble like this experience. An experience I lived through myself and almost couldn't recount. Do you dare to listen to this story until the end? Stay, because what I'm about to share might make you look at your dreams with a completely different eye. I live in a small apartment in Brooklyn, where the old walls seem to hold secrets that are never revealed. As a horror writer, I'm used to finding inspiration from strange things. The sound of footsteps in the hallway late at night, the flickering light for no reason, or the icy cold wind blowing through, even though the windows are tightly closed. But everything started to change on a cold winter night in November 2024. That night, I stayed up late to finish a short story for a horror magazine. My apartment was bathed in the pale blue light from the computer screen, and the coffee cup had long gone cold. I clearly remember the feeling of exhaustion crawling through my body, making my eyes sting. I decided to take a short nap on the sofa, just a few minutes, to clear my mind. But when I closed my eyes, a strange dream came crashing in. In the dream, I saw myself standing in front of an old house, standing alone in the middle of a foggy forest on the outskirts of New York. The house looked like it had been abandoned for a long time, with broken window frames and a roof covered in moss. But what made me shiver was the feeling of being watched. Someone, or something, was looking at me from the pitch-black windows. I tried to walk, but my feet felt stuck to the ground. A whispering voice echoed, unclear from where. "Don't go in, but you will have to go in." That voice was cold, as if it was blown from a grave. I jolted awake, sweat soaking my shirt. The clock showed 3:03 a.m., the hour people call the dead hour. I tried to calm myself, telling myself it was just a dream. But when I looked out the window, a chill ran down my spine. Through the foggy glass, I saw a figure standing under the streetlight. It wasn't clear if it was male or female, just a tall, thin silhouette, wearing a black cloak, head slightly tilted as if looking straight at me. I blinked and the figure disappeared. From that night, the dream about the house in the forest repeated, each time more vivid. I started to notice strange details. The smell of damp earth rising from the floor in the dream, the creaking sound of the wooden stairs as I stepped up, and an iron door in the basement, tightly locked with a rusty padlock. Every night that voice echoed again, urging me, "Open the door. You have to open it." I began to feel afraid, not because of the dream, but because I felt it wasn't just a dream. It was like an invitation, or a curse. I decided to investigate. As a horror writer, I have a habit of researching unusual things. I searched online for abandoned houses near New York, and strangely, I found an old article from 1978. The article talked about a house in the Catskills, about 2 hours' drive from Brooklyn. That house was once the site of a mysterious disappearance. A family of 4 vanished without a trace after a winter night. Locals rumored that the house was haunted by an entity called the Guide, a shadowy specter that appeared in dreams, luring victims to the house and making them disappear. I knew I should stop, but the curiosity of a writer overcame my fear. I rented a car and drove to the Catskills on a gloomy afternoon. When I arrived, the house appeared before my eyes, exactly like in the dream. A moss-covered roof, broken windows, and a heavy atmosphere, as if the air was pressing down on my chest. I stepped inside, my heart pounding. The smell of damp earth hit my nose, just like in the dream. I heard the creaking sound from the wooden stairs, even though I hadn't stepped on them. I found the iron door in the basement, just as in the dream. The rusty padlock was still there, but this time, I noticed a new detail. On the padlock was carved a strange symbol, looking like a circle with squiggly lines inside, like an eye. I took out my phone to take a picture of the symbol, intending to research it later. But when I touched the padlock, a freezing cold current ran through my hand, as if someone was grabbing my wrist. I yanked my hand back, my heart racing. From behind the door, I heard the whisper, "Open it! You have to open it!" I ran out of the house, not daring to look back. On the way back to Brooklyn, I felt like someone was sitting in the back seat of the car, even though I knew I was alone. Every time I looked in the rearview mirror, I only saw darkness. But the feeling of being watched didn't leave me. When I got back to my apartment, I checked the photo of the padlock. The symbol on it was identical to an ancient symbol I had read about in a book on black magic. A symbol associated with summoning entities from another realm. The days that followed, the dreams became more intense. I didn't just see the house, but also saw myself standing in front of the iron door, holding a key I had never seen in real life. In the dream, I opened the door, and a blinding red light swallowed me. I woke up screaming, my body trembling. But the most horrifying thing was that I started seeing signs in real life. The smell of damp earth appeared in my apartment, even though I lived on the 5th floor. Shadowy figures passed by in the hallway, even though I lived alone. And one night, I found a piece of paper on my desk with handwriting that wasn't mine. "You will open the door." I decided to contact an old friend, Sarah, a researcher of the occult. When I told her, Sarah's face paled. She said that the Guide was not just a legend. It was an ancient entity sealed in the house in the Catskills after a failed ritual in the 19th century. This entity used dreams to manipulate victims, luring them to the house and forcing them to open the door to release it. Sarah warned me, if you keep dreaming about it, you won't escape. It has chosen you. I didn't want to believe, but what happened next made it impossible to deny. One night I woke up and found myself standing in front of my apartment door, holding my car keys, as if I was about to drive to the Catskills unconsciously. I panicked, threw the keys away, and locked the door. But when I turned around, I saw a figure standing in the corner of the room. Tall, thin, wearing a black cloak, head tilted to one side. I screamed, turned on the light, and the figure disappeared. But on the table, I found an old rusty key, exactly like the one in my dream. I knew I couldn't keep running. Sarah helped me find a ritual to break the connection with the guide. That night, we burned a circle of salt around the apartment and recited ancient incantations Sarah had found. But as we began, the lights in the apartment flickered and an icy cold wind blew through. Even though the windows were tightly closed, the whispering voice echoed, this time clearer. "You cannot stop. The door must be opened." Sarah grabbed my hand, her voice trembling. "Don't listen to it. Keep reading." We read louder, despite the strange growling sound coming from every corner of the room. Suddenly, the key on the table burst into flames, and a horrific scream rang out, as if hundreds of voices were screaming at once. Then everything fell silent. The lights came back on, and the smell of damp earth disappeared. I no longer dream of the house, but every night I still check the windows and lock the door, afraid that one day the figure in the black cloak will return. The key has disappeared, but the symbol on the padlock still haunts me. Was the guide truly sealed, or is it just waiting for a new victim? Have you ever had a dream that didn't feel like your own? Share your story in the comments, because I know out there somewhere there are secrets waiting to be told. And if you want to know what happened when I returned to the house in the Catskills, stay tuned for my next story. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine standing in an abandoned school at midnight, the air thick with dust, the silence so heavy it feels alive. Now, what if I told you the reason that school was shut down wasn't budget cuts or declining enrollment, but something far worse, something that still lingers in those empty halls? My name is Mr. Nightwraith, a horror writer from New York. And tonight, I'm sharing a secret that's kept me awake for weeks. Ready to step into the dark with me? It started with an email. I get a lot of strange messages. Fans pitching ideas, skeptics debunking my tales, the occasional crank. But this one was different. No sender name, just a string of numbers and letters, and a single line. The truth about Westfield High is buried in its walls. Find it. Attached was a grainy photo of a brick building, its windows boarded up, the sign out front barely legible. Westfield High School, established 1952. I'm no stranger to urban legends. New York's got its share. Haunted subway tunnels, cursed tenements. But Westfield High? I'd never heard of it. A quick search pulled up nothing but a few archived articles about its closure in 2003. The official story was vague. Structural issues, no details, no follow-ups. That alone piqued my curiosity. Why would a school in upstate New York, only 50 years old, be abandoned so abruptly? And why was someone reaching out to me, a horror writer, about it? The email gnawed at me. I couldn't shake the image of that building, its dark windows like eyes staring back. So I did what any obsessed writer would do. I packed a bag, grabbed my recorder, and drove 4 hours to the small town of Cold Hollow, where Westfield High still stood, rotting on the edge of a forest. Cold Hollow was the kind of place you'd miss if you blinked. A gas station, a diner, a handful of houses clinging to a single road. The locals weren't exactly chatty. When I asked about the school at the diner, the waitress, a woman with tired eyes and a name tag reading Doris, froze. "Ain't no one been up there in years," she said, her voice clipped. "Best leave it alone." When I pressed, she busied herself with another table. The school was a mile out of town, hidden behind a wall of pines. The road leading to it was cracked, overgrown with weeds. As I pulled up, the building loomed into view, exactly as it had in the photo. Red brick, 3 stories, with a flat roof and a chain-link fence that sagged under its own weight. The air felt wrong, heavy like it was holding its breath. A faint smell hung around, not quite rot, but something sour, like damp paper left too long in a basement. I stepped out, my boots crunching on gravel. The silence was oppressive. No birds, no wind, just the faint hum of my own pulse. The front gate was padlocked, but the chain was rusted, and a quick tug snapped it. I slipped through, my recorder on, narrating as I went. October 12th, 2025, Westfield High. The place feels empty, but not abandoned, like it's waiting. The main entrance was boarded, but a side door hung ajar, its hinges groaning as I pushed it open. Inside, the air was colder, thick with dust that danced in the slivers of light piercing the boarded windows. The hallway stretched ahead, lined with lockers, their paint peeling like dead skin. Papers littered the floor, old flyers for a homecoming dance, a math test with a red F scrawled across it. I picked one up. The date read September 2003. I moved deeper, my flashlight cutting through the gloom. The school was a time capsule. Frozen in the moment it was abandoned. Classrooms held desks tipped over, chalkboards smeared with half-erased equations. In one room, a projector sat on a cart, its bulb long burned out. I whispered into my recorder, "It's like everyone just left." Mid-lesson, midday. Then I heard it, a faint thump, like a book hitting the floor, from somewhere above. My heart lurched. I froze, straining to listen. Nothing. Just the creak of the building settling, I told myself. Old places make noises, but the air felt heavier now, the sour smell stronger. I climbed the stairs, each step groaning under my weight. The second floor was darker, the windows here completely boarded. My flashlight caught something on the wall, a smear of red paint, or maybe something else, shaped like a handprint. It was too faded to tell. I narrated, my voice quieter now. "There's a mark here. Could be vandalism, but it doesn't feel random." Another thump, louder, closer. This time it came from the end of the hall. My beam swept over closed classroom doors, a janitor's closet, a bathroom. I called out, "Hello?" My voice echoed, unanswered. Against every instinct, I moved toward the sound. The last classroom on the left was different. Its door was open, just a crack. I pushed it, and the hinges screamed. Inside, desks were arranged in a perfect circle, not scattered like the others. In the center on the floor was a pile of papers, yellowed and curling. I knelt, sifting through them. They were student essays, all dated September 30th, 2003. The topic written in neat cursive on each. "What scares you most?" One caught my eye. The handwriting was shaky, the words sprawling. "It's in the walls," it read. "It watches us. It knows when we're alone. They won't listen, but it's real. It's why we can't stay." The essay ended abruptly, the last line smeared, like the writer had been interrupted. A chill crawled up my spine. I stuffed the paper into my bag and stood, my flashlight flickering. The room felt smaller, the air tighter. Then from the corner of my eye, I saw it, a shadow, human-shaped, darting past the doorway. I spun, my beam catching nothing but empty hallway. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice cracking. Silence. I should have left. Every horror writer knows the trope, the idiot who stays when the signs scream run. But I was hooked. That email, the essay, the shadow. It was all connected, and I needed answers. I moved to the third floor, where the air grew colder, the smell now unmistakably like decay. The top floor was a maze of narrow halls and locked doors. My flashlight was dying, its beam weak. I narrated, "The atmosphere's changed. It's not just old, it's wrong." I reached a set of double doors labeled auditorium. They were chained shut, but the chain was loose, and I slipped inside. The auditorium was vast, its stage draped in tattered curtains. Rows of seats stretched into the dark, some collapsed, others eerily upright. I stepped onto the stage, my boots echoing. That's when I saw it, a trap door, partially open, leading to a basement. My gut screamed no, but the story pulled me forward. I descended. The basement was a warren of concrete tunnels, damp and claustrophobic. Pipes ran along the ceiling, dripping something that wasn't water. The smell was overwhelming now, like rotting meat. My flashlight died completely, leaving me in pitch black. I fumbled for my phone, its weak light barely cutting the dark. Then I heard it, a whisper, not words, just a low, guttural sound, like air escaping a throat. It came from everywhere and nowhere. I spun, my phone's light shaking. "Who's there?" I yelled, my voice swallowed by the tunnels. The whisper grew louder, joined by a scraping, like nails on concrete. I ran, my phone's light bouncing wildly. The tunnels seemed to twist, leading me in circles. My chest burned, my breath ragged. Finally, I stumbled into a larger room, its walls lined with old filing cabinets. In the center was a chalkboard, covered in frantic writing. "It's in the walls. It's in us. Don't look at it." Something moved behind me. Not a shadow this time, but a presence, heavy and close. I turned, my phone's light catching a glimpse of something. Not human, not entirely. It was tall, its limbs too long, its face, if it had one, blurred like a smudge in reality. I screamed, dropping my phone. The light went out. I don't know how I got out. I remember running, crashing into walls, my hands scraping concrete. I remember the whisper chasing me, the scraping growing louder. I remember bursting through a door, the night air hitting my face and collapsing in the gravel outside. When I looked back, the school was silent, its windows dark. I drove straight to a motel, my hands shaking too hard to hold the wheel steady. In my room, I played back my recorder. Most of it was static, but one moment was clear. A voice, not mine, whispering, "You saw." I haven't gone back to Westfield High. I tried researching it, but every lead dead-ended. The town's records are sealed, the locals tight-lipped. The essay I took is still in my bag, unopened since that night. I'm afraid to read it again, afraid of what else it might say. But the story's not over. That email wasn't random. Someone or something wanted me there. And last night, I got another message. Same anonymous sender, same cryptic style. "It's not done with you. Check your closet." I haven't looked. I don't know if I will. So, here's my question for you. What would you do if you found a secret like this? One that's not just a story, but a door to something real? Something that knows your name? I'm Mr. Nightwraith, and this is the tale of Westfield High. If you've got a story of your own, a place that felt wrong, a moment you can't explain, drop it in the comments. I read everyone. Next time, I'll tell you about the night I heard footsteps in my own apartment and realized I live alone. Until then, keep your doors locked, and maybe don't look too closely at the shadows.